It was like, you know, the little 5-star system that they have in GTA? The wanted level of the guy who leaked GTA 6 is not 5 stars, it's like 50 stars. And then that one just went stupid viral. So
Welcome back, everybody, to Okayplayer Go. My name is Jamil, and I'm here with a special guest. Let's talk about it. Introduce yourself, my man.
hey, how's it going? I go by Kami. I cover gaming on social media and YouTube and TikTok. I mostly cover news, but I also do reviews and other stuff. I go by Kami on all platforms.
Where did the name Kami come from? I mean, I have an idea, but I'm not sure.
So my full Twitter handle is Okami,
Yes.
and that comes from number one, the game Okami, which has like the wolf guy. And then also, one thing that maybe people don't know is that it comes from a game called Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
Nice.
And the main character in that game, I'm a big FromSoftware fan. The main character in that game is called White Wolf. So they call him Okami in that game as well. And then the reason I shortened it was just because there's already a game called Okami. So let's try not to conflict with that.
Absolutely. No, that definitely makes sense. Let's talk about so much stuff. It's great to have you here, and it's great to kind of like pick your mind as a fellow gaming person, especially someone of color in this community, kind of continuing to spread information and be as prominent as you are. But I kind of want to start from the beginning. What's your earliest memories with video games, and what consoles were you playing with when you first really started getting into gaming?
I've been gaming my entire life. Thanks for the kind words, by the way. My
Of
first
course.
console was the N64. I had like the ice blue one, and then I got Super Mario 64 with that, and that was the first game I ever owned. So I've been gaming since back in the day. I was a Nintendo kid growing up, to be honest. I had the GameCube, I had the Wii, I had all the handhelds, all the Pokemon games, all that stuff. So definitely Nintendo growing up.
But when did you start deciding, hey, I kind of want to cover gaming? Like, what inspired, you know, you tweeting and sharing information and really like parsing through a lot of things for people in that kind of way?
So the whole news thing basically started during COVID. I believe I started early 2020 is when I started really actively posting. And then a couple months later, we were on lockdown. So this whole thing has basically been underneath COVID. I was obviously always into games. I always wanted to make content, but early 2020 is when I really started taking it more seriously. So about 5 years now.
What was the original purpose of your Twitter account? It says that you joined quite a while ago. Were you just kind of like tweeting with everybody else? Like,
So the original reason I created my Twitter account was so that I could get my screenshots off of my PS4. Because if you don't remember, back in the day, you couldn't just use the app. You would have to actually post the screenshots directly to Twitter and then save them from there. So I know it says that I created my account in like 2017.
yeah,
That's the reason I originally created it. And I
I
just
love
left it
that.
like that for a couple years.
I love that. That's how I thought about it for the Nintendo Switch too, until I figured out there was a better way to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
now everything's simple.
Absolutely. So, what's your method when it comes to posting? Like, do you prioritize things are more notable? Do you prioritize what things resonates with your audience, or maybe just what you personally enjoy?
I guess it's a combination of everything. First of all, obviously, it has to be something that I actually care about, something that I'm passionate about.
Of
And
course.
then I also think about my community. What would they be interested in? I kind of know my audience, so I know what kind of games they like and things like that. I do try and prioritize the most important news first, but then I also try and, obviously support indie games when I can, and just different topics that maybe other people aren't talking about. So it's kind of a mixture of everything.
And what do you say with your audience? What do they kind of resonate with, or what resonates with them the most?
Definitely single player games, first of all. I know there's a lot of Call of Duty fans and stuff, but my community is more so single player. FromSoft games, Elden Ring, Dark Souls, I'm a big fan of those games. So naturally, I guess I attract people that are fans of those as well. RPGs, PlayStation games, stuff like that. Mostly single player though.
Do you remember what's your most viral tweet that's ever happened?
Yes. It was when the GTA 6 leaks happened. a couple years back.
Ooh,
When that like lead gameplay came out, I think I got like 200K likes or something like that. That's probably my biggest tweet of all time. It was like, you know, the little 5-star system that they have in GTA? I basically did like the wanted level of the guy who leaked GTA 6 is not 5 stars, it's like 50 stars. And then that one just went stupid viral. So probably that one.
Oh my God. Listen, that's awesome, first of all. And did it change your approach to how you handle content, or is it just like you feel like it was just like one of those spur of the moment kind of things?
I mean, you never really know what's gonna pop off. It's completely unpredictable. Obviously, we try to keep things lighthearted. We try to, you know, use humor and, you know, make things funny when we can, while obviously,
Sure.
you know, taking things more serious when necessary. But yeah, I don't want to say it really changed how I post.
You've built this massive audience and you continue to stay active, all while attending school, which I think is crazy.
Yes.
How do you manage to stay on top of the news cycle and stay, you know, on top of your schoolwork? Because I know me, when I went to school, I you know, believe it or not, I majored in engineering, so I had
Wow.
no time to do anything else.
Yeah.
But how did you find time? Like, where does the balance kind of strike for you?
It is tough, definitely. There are times where I have to prioritize school more, or I have to prioritize content more. I just try to basically set things in blocks. So I'll wake up in the morning, check the news real quick. If there's nothing going on, then I'll maybe go to class or study a little bit. I just try to like organize my day properly and
Yeah.
prioritize things when I need to.
Nice.
It can be hard though.
Do you set your schedule around that? If you know there's a direct coming, if you know there's some sort of presentation coming, do you try to set your schedule surrounding that?
Absolutely. After doing this for so many years, I kind of know how things work. I know what time things usually get announced. I know what time events usually get announced. So I try to organize things around that. And if I know there's a big event coming, I will definitely set aside some time just to cover that event.
You tweeted that you were a computer science major, and one of your final projects involved making a game. By the way, I played the game. So, just to let you know,
Thank you.
is game development something that you really, really want to pursue? And if so, like, what kind of games would you like to make?
It was always a dream of mine growing up. I don't know if the industry is in the best place right now for
Sure.
new hires, but it's definitely something I would be interested in if the opportunity presented itself.
What would be like your dream like game to be a part of in terms of developing or creating? Is it something new, or is it something like a classic title that's existed for a while that you really, really love?
Probably maybe a Soulslike or some third-person action game. The one I made was just a random project. It was like an indie platformer, I think, and you could like run around collecting coins. But I'm a big fan of Souls-likes and just action games in general, so like Devil May Cry, Dark Souls, stuff like that. So obviously, if I could work with some of those big studios like Capcom or FromSoft even, that would be amazing. But that's probably my dream game.
Beyond gaming, what are some of your other interests and or passions?
I'm a big movie person. I'm not, I like movies. I just watched Final Destination Bloodlines the other day. Great horror movie, by the way. Music as well. I'm a big music person, both in gaming and otherwise. And then I also just like being outdoors when possible. Trails, natural parks, that stuff, especially during the
Nice.
summertime.
What inspired you to report the news for yourself? Us over here, we think you have the chops to go to really one of the major websites, especially with the way you cover it and how succinctly you cover it, and how much news you kind of like put out, and the quality that you put it out. You're pretty unique as a solo reporter who isn't really focused on articles. What inspired you to just do this by yourself, as opposed to being like, man, I wish I could work for this or work for them?
Yeah, and I actually did try that for a while. I did do freelancing for a little bit at a smaller site called MP First, if you've heard of them. And I did that for a while, and I just felt like it wasn't for me. Eventually, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to work on building my own brand and maybe eventually making my own website. But that was a while ago, and I think that has worked out better for me in the long run.
One of the standout parts of a post that you made a while ago was that you want to do things the right way. That means like no clickbait, no misinformation, even if it may work against you in terms of the algorithm.
Yeah.
Why is that kind of integrity important to you as a creator?
I just think that if you have a large voice in this community, you do have some level of responsibility. If you actually care about gaming, if you actually care about, what's best for the community, there is some level of responsibility. So, anytime that I can credit a website or an article, I'm going to do that. I know it's hard out here for news websites, so anything that I can do to help them out, it's kind of an ecosystem that works like that. So I've always tried to do things the right way. I always source. I don't clickbait. I don't want to like spread misinformation around because, that doesn't help anybody. I also try not to cover leaks so much, especially if it's like right before an event.
Hmm.
Like if the Game Awards are coming in 2 days and, some big reveal leaks, I would just rather not post that. So just stuff like that, because that's going to ruin the surprise for people, And I personally want to be surprised, especially at these, once a year events. It's always been something that I've thought about, and, it would be better for me to just cover all the leaks. That's going to get more engagement. That's going to get more likes, but I don't know. I just don't think it's quite worth it.
How have you dealt with the common occurrence in media of being cited or sourced for news without proper credit? You see a lot of sites basically screenshot you and leave it at that. How do you kind of deal with that?
I mean, it's just a part of the game, I guess, especially on social media. Sometimes you call them out. Sometimes you just got to let it slide. But yeah, it happens a lot. I would say I'm like a medium-ish size account, and there have been many times where people with millions of followers have not credited me properly. So it can be frustrating, especially when it's one of those larger accounts. But it's a part of the game, I guess.
Now, you've recently opened up about taking time from your mental health, cutting back a little bit because of the platform, especially around X, it gets a little bit toxic in terms of everything. How do you kind of protect your peace while staying committed to covering gaming, in such maybe a volatile online internet environment?
Yeah, especially like around election years and stuff, it can just get very toxic. You just got to be very intentional about the people you're following, the content you're consuming, and then also just limiting your social media usage if at all possible. Like especially the For You page, ever since Elon took over, it's been like a completely different platform. So it's just being very careful about who you follow.
It's the same over here.
Yeah, it can be crazy, man.
Yeah, it can get pretty nuts. So I'm glad that you're taking time and even you take a step back every now and then, because I feel like as a creator, you're pushed more to continue to deliver. Maybe you think that people might, maybe they won't remember you, or maybe your likes or engagement will go down. So you're kind of pushed to always do that. So it's nice that, to hear that you're taking the steps at least to like make sure to protect your own mental health in this situation. Because I see a lot of creators kind of go down a bad pipeline by not really advocating that for themselves. So I think that's incredibly dope. And I think it's dope that you shared it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to just take breaks if you need to as well. I don't want to burn out. I want to keep doing this. So if I need maybe a day or two off, I can just take a break. It's no big deal.
Absolutely. What's something you've learned while doing this that you think people getting started in this industry should know?
My biggest advice to anyone who would want to get into this is to just do it. Just start doing it. Even if no one reads it, even if no one watches it, just post it somewhere so at least you have something to show people, if you do want to apply for a freelance gig or something like that. Just start doing it and do it consistently, and the results will show.
Absolutely. I agree. Favorite genres of games to play?
Third-person action. I'm also a big horror person. Resident Evil, Silent Hill, love those games.
Nice.
Indies as well. I like to play indies. Like Hollow Knight is a great game that maybe you should play if you haven't. It's like a 2D platformer. But yeah, horror, third-person action, and probably indies.
Is there a game you've seen get mid or even negative reviews, which you think it's better than it probably gets credit for?
Off the top of my head, there's a horror game called In Sound Mind.
Hmm.
And I think the reviews are like 7.5, 8 out of 10. I thought it was a great game. It's basically this game where you go around. It's basically this game where you go around trying to like collect your memories, and you're haunted by this creature that's like following you around everywhere. But it's really good. The story's great. I recommend it if you haven't checked it out yet.
What are your thoughts on GTA 6? What are your thoughts on the trailer, everything that has come out over the last number of years? And are you excited to play it? Like, where does it kind of like sit within your hype rankings of games right now?
I mean, GTA is GTA, right? So I'm sure the entire world is going to be coming around that when that comes out. I love Rockstar. I played San Andreas a lot growing up. The new trailer looks amazing for GTA 6. Maybe like the best looking graphics I've ever seen. So I'm definitely excited for it. I wouldn't call myself like a hardcore Rockstar fan, but I definitely enjoy GTA 5. GTA 6 will be an event. It'll be a monumental event for sure.
Right. Is there any aspects about the game that you've seen that really surprised you or really got you excited for the title?
Just the visuals, to be honest. I'm a computer science student, so graphics and tech stuff is really interesting to me, and it's crazy that they had that trailer running on a base PS5, not a PC,
Yeah.
not a PS5 Pro. That just blows my mind. So probably just the visuals overall, and then the whole like Bonnie and Clyde theme with Jason and Lucia. That'll be interesting to see. First female protagonist, and it's I guess a love story type thing. So
Yeah.
definitely a different vibe for GTA.
What do you anticipate being game of the year for 2025? Or at least what's your personal pick thus far?
Right now, it's probably going to be Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which is a turn-based RPG. This game kind of came out of nowhere and just blew everyone away. It was made by a very small team. Crazy visuals, great gameplay, great soundtrack as well. So that's probably my pick. Split Fiction was also really good. I reviewed that game. It's from the creators of It Takes Two, if you've played that. And then I'm also very much looking forward to Ghost of Yote later this year. I think that definitely could be a Game of the Year contender. Death Stranding 2 as well is coming out in just a few weeks here. So Kojima always delivers.
There's been a lot of talk about tariffs and how they're affecting the manufacturing across multiple industries, including gaming. What's your take on how this could shape the future of like consoles or hardware accessibility or things like that?
I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest expert on tariffs and business and stuff, but
Sure.
it definitely looks like we might be getting price hikes. I believe the tariffs they kind of like worked out a deal now with China, so maybe the tariffs won't be quite as high. But I definitely think we're going to be seeing price hikes for other consoles, accessories, stuff like that. Although maybe not quite as high as maybe we expected earlier when the tariffs were first announced.
What game have you put the most hours of your personal time into?
Probably one of the live service games. I am a big Destiny player, or I was. I'm not going to tell you how many I have, but it is in the thousands of hours. I was also a pretty big Call of Duty player back in the day, so like Black Ops 3. What was before Black Ops 3? World War II? That kind of era, I have quite a few hours in those COD games.
And the final question I want to ask you, what is in your back catalog of games that you're playing these days? What haven't you finished that you're just like, I need to wrap this thing up?
Yeah, it's been crazy, especially these first few months of 2025.
Right.
Right now, I'm almost finished with Doom: The Dark Ages, which is really good. And then I'm also working through Expedition 33 as well. I'm still making my way through that. I still got to play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is a very big RPG that released earlier this year. And then I don't know if there's anything else from this year, but obviously the backlog never ends. I could go back years.
First of all, I want to thank you for joining us on Okayplayer Go, and really opening up a little bit more about yourself and your gaming habits and kind of like all your thoughts on the latest. If there's any final thoughts or there's anything you want to say to the people who follow you, what would it be right now?
Just thanks for the support. You can follow me at Okami13 on Twitter, YouTube, King Kami Gaming. Look, man, just be nice to each other. Let's quit with all the console warring. Let's quit with all the, you know, back and forth. Let's just all enjoy the games, whatever platform they may be on. Let's just enjoy the games and let other people enjoy the games too. If you don't like it, that's fine, but don't try and ruin it for others as well.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in with our conversation with Kami. Make sure you guys follow Okayplayer Go on all social platforms. And yeah, thank you.